Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland, and in this video I'm going to be telling you about the standard British English accent. So this accent is found throughout the United Kingdom. However, in much of the UK it's a minority accent. It's probably not even a majority accent in the London area, but this accent is more closely associated with London and southeastern England. So even though I'm not from there, this is the accent that I acquired. I picked it up in Scotland because people who go to certain sort of schools tend to speak this way. And it poleaxes some people when they hear that I picked up this accent in North Britain. So this accent is more of the prestige accent. I say that not being conceited. I hope it doesn't come across that way, but that is the plain truth of the matter. There is a bit of hostility towards people who speak this way. Others say, oh, you talk posh, you must be stuck up, you're toffee nose. And in fairness, some people with this accent are arrogant. This accent is less distinct than it used to be. If you listen to recordings of people from 50 years ago, they sound rather fruitier, and there was a much more of a social gap between the working class, the middle class, the upper class, and so on. I may have an upper class accent, I have whatever, middle class background and a working class income, but there we are. So the edges of this have been rounded off, and it's closer to an ordinary accent. So I shall give you some examples of the lexis, since it's vocabulary that scintillates me. A bit of the pronunciation as well, but I tend not to describe those, certainly not with the phonetic symbols. So in this variety, people say pudding for the tasty or sugary thing they would eat after the main course of a meal. Occasionally they would say afters. So people, there's an accent, they sometimes borrow the more working class slang words. In London there's the Cockney accent, which is the working class accent, and people often say afters in that, as in what they eat after the main course. The thing is, these accents cannot be distinguished absolutely, one bleeds into the next. This accent is known for its long vowels. You're probably hearing a few as I speak now. And this accent is known for taking words which would appear to have 4 syllables and turning them into 3, like particularly, rather than particularly. Or I gave other examples like literature rather than literature. There must be more, but they don't spring to mind right now. People occasionally saying cheers for thanks, or likewise when they're having alcoholic beverages. Again, cheers could be seen to be more of a Cockney word, but sometimes it's adopted by people who are speaking standard British English, especially in a non-formal context, informal context. There's certain things to be avoided, like saying this is real class, as in if you're saying something is high quality. Notably, people with this accent can pronounce the TH sound, the thorn as it is, to put one's tongue perhaps a millimetre in front of one's teeth, like this, th, for this, that, there, those, 33,033. Whereas people with the Cockney accent, and they tend to predominate in the same geographical area with which the standard British English accent is most closely associated, people with the Cockney accent can't pronounce the TH. It comes out as an F or a V, saying my mother, father and brother said vis and vat and vos and vem, or say thank you, I'm thanking you. That's the Cockneys often say thanking you rather than thank you. And notice for them it's thanking, not thank you. What else? Now, I gave an example of it, using one to mean you, as in people generally, not speaking to you individually, or maybe even you as a group. But it's a little old-fashioned. The Prince of Wales, he often says one, but he's often talking about himself, but somehow distancing himself from that. But it's unusual, and perhaps it's on its way out of this variety of English. Notably, we tend to say railway station, not train station. Remember that British people and Indians would always say railway, not railroad. I know they're the same thing, not hair splitting. By the way, I'm not suggesting that one version is better than another or correct, that another one is dead wrong or anything. I'm just describing my variety of English. I'd like to hear what your variety of English is like. I find it scintillating to hear other varieties of the same language. For example, Hinglish, where Indians adopt words like kror, gunda, lak, jawan, sepoy, and so forth, often not even realizing these are not English words. And in much of the rest of the Anglosphere, people would not comprehend these words. They'd be discombobulated by them. Come to Christmas time. We would always call it Christmas, not the holidays. Some Americans, being secular, not seeking to privilege Christianity over other faiths, often say the holidays. So we would say Santa Claus, he's the one who visits children. Occasionally we'll say Father Christmas. That's somewhat old hat and maybe posher, because I'm not upper class, though I occasionally sound that way. But people who really are upper class might say that one. By the way, holiday in British means like vacation in American. It's when you have time off work, not just one day. It's when you choose to have it usually, and you might well go away. Now, public holiday could be like New Year's Day or Christmas Day or Easter weekend. Easter weekend is for us is Good Friday, as well as the Saturday, Sunday, and Easter Monday. So that's what holiday means for us. We don't use the word vacation. All right. So the sport rugby, occasionally calling it rugger. This is something which I think started at Trinity College, Cambridge in the late 19th century, taking words, cutting off the last syllable, putting ER on instead, saying footer for football, but that's old-fashioned and seldom heard these days. Or even soccer for football, which is now the way it's said in the United States, Republic of Ireland, and Australia, because association football or football association, taking the soccer bit of association and pronouncing it soccer, turning the A to an ER on the end. Now, there are some words which, again, are distinctly old-fashioned, such as ghastly, not said very much, may well be an affectation, beastly, likewise, and people under the age of 60 seldom say that one, frightful, which may well be contrived. But I welcome people using these unusual words and bringing them back from abeyance, because life is too bland if people's vocabulary is all very samey, simply repeating the shortest, simplest words, which we hear far too frequently. So variety is the spice of life. Please mix it up and use these unusual words. Otherwise, it's just too tedious. So is it wrong to try to be a tiny bit interesting and to vary one's vocabulary? I don't think so. Otherwise, people must be restricted to a very limited and regimented and bland vocabulary. Another distinction between standard British English and standard American English is the use of to, to, as in infinitives. For instance, you may have watched that film Mary Poppins from the 60s, and there's a song in it, Let's Go Fly a Kite. Patently, it was written by an American, because a Britisher would have written, let's go and fly a kite, or let's go to fly a kite. It came across as wrong, and of course they are Britons singing it in this, and they're all speaking standard British English. In that film, Dick Van Dyke appeared, the American actor, and he played a Cockney chimney sweep. He attempted the London proletarian accent and infamously murdered the accent, did it dreadfully. I think he's just halfway there. They should have just put a line in the film that he's an American who happens to be living in the United Kingdom, and that would have been fine, rather than him attempt the accent and get it dreadfully, comically wrong. He's unintentionally funny. He's a Hollywood actor. He's supposed to be fabulous at acting. So he should either capture the accent or just do his own one. I don't know how on earth they let that film go out with that. It's the only weak link in the chain of the film. So that's a little bit about this standard British English accent. Please post your comments and questions below, because I'm running out of things to say about obvious grammatical, vocabulary distinctions and what's unusual about the pronunciation. So I'd like to hear what you want to know.